It was good, too good, but I couldn't take it anymore. I asked him to stop. My legs wouldn't respond anymore. They were shaking uncontrollably, while his hands remained there, firm, gripped around my waist. And, since I was paying, I asked him to stop, but looking at him, I knew. He still wanted much more. As you know, a few years ago, I paid a male prostitute. And, now, years later, I found him in the same place, on the same corner, in the same pose. And the truth is, that first time never left my mind. Never. So, I couldn't hold back. I took him home, and this time, he was even more beautiful. His body was more toned, more muscular. He looked more like a man, more confident, more experienced. He must have been about 22 now. And looking at him, I realized, right away, that that night wasn't going to be like the first. It was going to be much, much better. You must be wondering, what happened between Lucas and me after that night? Well, the truth is that we started seeing each other more often. We went out, drank together, sometimes he even slept at my place. We were having a really cool thing, something light, fun, full of chemistry. But we never talked about what it was. We never had that conversation. And maybe that was my mistake. We had been dating for a few months, and yes, I liked him. But at the same time, I felt that something was missing. Something I couldn't explain, but I felt it. Sometimes, we would argue over silly things, little things that, deep down, didn't even make sense. But it confused me. And then one of those times, we went out for a drink, we laughed, we talked, but then, out of nowhere, we started arguing again. I don't even remember why. All I know is that he went home, and I got in my car and drove away. But halfway there, without even realizing it, I drove down that street. Yes, that same street, where, years ago, I had met that male prostitute, the one, from the first time. And I can't explain why, but when I saw him there, in the same place, something inside me lit up. Maybe it was anger from the argument, maybe it was just desire, pleasure, or just reliving that moment. So, I stopped the car, and when I realized it, he approached me, smiled, and said, "Good evening. You around?" I smiled back and replied, "You remembered me, huh?" He gave me that cheeky smile and said, "Of course, how could I forget you?" I just looked at him, bit my lip, and said, "Are you free?" He didn't even think about it. He replied immediately, "For you, always." I smiled, unlocked the door, and said, "Get in." And, without thinking too much, I took him to my house. We got home, and, honestly, there was no conversation, no beating around the bush. The door had barely closed, and our bodies were already pressed against each other, as if no time had passed since the last time. The way he held me, how he pulled me, how he put me exactly where he wanted me. It reminded me, right then and there, why I had never been able to get him out of my head. And, yes, this time, it was better. Much better than that first day. The way he led everything, firmer, more intense, more confident, more manly. As if, over time, he had learned exactly how to drive me crazy. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. It was right there, on the couch. He threw me down, turned me around, held me by the waist, and from then on, I couldn't even think straight anymore. I just felt his movements, the weight of his body on mine, the way he took me, hungry, eager, as if my body was only his that night. And it was there, in the middle of it all, that I felt that it was getting too much for me. It was good, too good, but I couldn't take it. I asked him to stop. My legs wouldn't respond anymore. They were shaking uncontrollably, while his hands remained there, firm, gripped around my waist. And, since I was the one paying, I asked him to stop, but looking at him, I knew. He still wanted much more. We stopped. For a few minutes. Just to breathe, drink some water, let our bodies recover. My chest rose and fell, sweat dripped. And while I tried to catch my breath, he looked at me, leaning on the arm of the sofa, with that naughty smile biting his lip, as if counting the seconds to start again. And it started. Only this time, it came back different, calmer, more controlled, but no less intense. And it didn't take long. What started slowly soon gained another rhythm. The intensity returned. He increased the pace, the movements, the touches, and it seemed that the more I gave in, the more he wanted. His body on mine, his hands squeezing, holding, dominating, our bodies fit together in a way that made it seem like everything there had been made for this. The mood got heavier, hotter, more intense, and, when I realized it, we were already at the edge. The climax came. In a way that couldn't be held back, couldn't be faked, couldn't be hidden. I just looked at him and understood that, on that night, there was no more control, no rules, no breaks, just us and what our bodies wanted. When we finally managed to recover, he got up, went to the bathroom, took a quick shower, and came back fixing his clothes, running his hands through his hair, like someone who was used to living nights like this. Before leaving, he took his cell phone out of his pocket, looked at me, smiled, and said, "Give me your number. You might want to do this again, right?" I laughed. I took my phone, wrote down his number. He wrote down mine too. And, yes, we exchanged contact information. After that, I took my wallet, paid him, and while he called an Uber, we stood there, at the door, looking at each other, as if, even after everything, there was still something left unsaid. The car arrived. He gave me that wicked smile, the one that breaks me down, opened the door, and drove away. I went to the bathroom, took a long shower, trying to somehow calm my body, which still seemed to vibrate, still seemed marked by his touch. Then, I lay down on the bed, but sleep? Impossible. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, reliving every second, every detail, every look, every sensation. My body still carried him, and, to be completely honest, a part of me didn't want it to end so soon. The next day, I ended up sleeping a little longer. It was Saturday. I didn't have to work. And, to be honest, my body was asking for rest. When I woke up, I picked up my phone, and there it was. A message from Lucas. "Hi, good morning. Did you sleep well? I wanted to apologize for yesterday." I read it. I took a deep breath, and I replied, "Good morning. I slept well. How about you?" And, "Okay, I'm sorry too." Right after that, he sent a heart emoji. And then came, "Can we see each other today?" I didn't think twice. I typed right away, "Yes, come have lunch with me." He replied almost immediately, "Okay, see you in a little while." I stared at the screen for a few seconds, with that mixture of anxiety and nervousness. Noon. He arrived. The mood, until then, seemed light. I went to the kitchen to prepare lunch while we opened a beer and chatted, trying to somehow put behind us what had happened the night before. At least that's what I thought. But, after a while, he got up, went to the bathroom, and, when he came back, something about him was different. His face was more closed, his expression hard, his gaze nervous. He came straight at me, staring at me, and asked, dryly, "What did you do yesterday, when you left the bar?" At that moment my body froze. I pretended to be natural, but my voice came out a little shaky. "Nothing. I came home, I went to sleep." He narrowed his eyes, crossed his arms, and said more firmly, Tell me the truth, Felix. What did you do? I tried to hold my ground. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't do anything. Why? He took a deep breath, shook his head, and blurted out. Then explain to me why there's a used condom in your bathroom trash can. At that moment, I froze. The world seemed to stop. I was speechless, nervous. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. And with nowhere else to run, I blurted out, looking down, almost without a voice. Okay, yesterday. Yesterday a guy came over to my house. The silence was instantaneous. His expression changed. From nervous to disappointed. He pressed his lips together, grabbed his phone from the table, and shook his head, saying, "You're kidding me, right? I thought we were together. I thought that there was something serious between us." I tried to defend myself. Lucas, we never talked about it. We never made it clear what we were. And yesterday, I was really angry, really upset, and what you already know happened. He held his phone, looked at me with teary eyes, but full of anger, and said, "Okay then, Felix. I really liked you. A lot. I wanted to build something nice with you. But it's over. Good luck." And he left. Just like that. Without letting me say anything else. Without letting me explain, he just turned his back and walked away. I stood there, staring at the closed door. The silence in the house seemed to crush me. I threw myself on the couch, ran my hands over my face, and, man, it hit me. I felt bad, guilty. I didn't want to, really. I never wanted to hurt him. But I let myself get carried away. For a moment, on impulse. Because of an emptiness that maybe didn't even have anything to do with him, but with me. It was a moment of weakness, of hot-headedness, of hurt, of anger, and now, it seemed like I had thrown everything away. I stood there, staring into space, reliving every word, every look, and, at the same time, listening to my own conscience, destroying me from the inside. The problem is that it's only when someone leaves that we realize how much they really matter. I couldn't find peace anymore. That same Saturday afternoon, I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and sent him a message. "Forgive me, Lucas. I never wanted to hurt you. I'm really sorry." He read it. I saw that he read it, but he didn't reply. And, man, that destroyed me. It made me feel even worse. On Sunday, I tried again. I sent a simple message. "Good morning." And, once again, nothing. He saw it, but he didn't reply. That silence hurt more than any words he could have said to me. On Monday, I arrived at work with a heavy heart, anxious, nervous, hoping perhaps that he would be there, that maybe we could talk, look each other in the eye, work things out. But he didn't show up. I asked the secretary if she knew anything. She replied, somewhat confused. He sent a message earlier, said he has a problem and won't be able to come today. And at that moment, the guilt crushed me. I stood there, staring at his desk, empty. And inside me, only one question kept hammering away. Why did I do that? Why did I ruin it? Because, now, I realized, more than ever, that losing him hurt much more than I had imagined. The next day, he showed up at work. But he seemed like a different person. He treated me as if nothing had happened. Cold, professional, dry. He only spoke when necessary about work. Not even a good morning beyond the formalities. Not even a different look. Not even a question beyond what was necessary. And it destroyed me inside. The whole day was like that, me pretending to work. And, inside, fighting the urge to pull him in, hold him, ask if he was okay, if he still felt anything. But I held back, until the end of the workday. When it was almost 6 in the afternoon, I took a deep breath, called the secretary, and asked, "Please, call Lucas here to my office." A few minutes later, he walked in, serious, stoic, cold. He stopped at the door and asked, in a dry, formal voice, "Did you call me, Mr. Felix?" Just the way he said it hurt me more than any argument we could have had. I took a deep breath and replied, "Yes. Is everything okay?" He crossed his arms, kept his gaze steady, and replied without looking away, "Everything's great." There was a heavy silence. Then I gathered my courage and asked, "Would you like to talk about what happened?" He took a deep breath, pressed his lips together, and replied bluntly, "Felix, we've had plenty of time to talk, and we haven't talked. Now, I'm not interested anymore, if you accept that. Just as an employee, everything's fine. If you don't accept it, I'll get my things and leave the company. No problem." I swallowed hard. I wanted to ask. I wanted to say 1,000 things. But I realized, in that look, that any words from me wouldn't make a difference at that moment. I just replied, "As far as I'm concerned, you can stay at the company, no problem." He nodded seriously and added, "That's all?" I replied, looking at the floor, almost without a voice, "Yes, thank you." He replied, dryly, bluntly, "Okay." And he left the room. And, along with him, it felt like a part of me had left too. A few days passed. And, to be honest, I still wasn't feeling well. No matter how hard I tried to pretend that everything was fine, that life was going on, inside me, the weight was still there. The empty house, the silence, my head was full. So, with nothing much to do, I decided to go out. I went to that bar I used to go to, just to have a beer, relax, listen to some music, and, who knows, clear my head a little. I sat there at the bar. I ordered a beer, and for a few minutes, that was it. Me, my beer, my thoughts. Until I noticed. At the corner table, there was a guy. A handsome guy. Very handsome, actually. He was with some friends, laughing, talking. But every now and then, his eyes would drift in my direction. And it wasn't just any look. No. It was the kind of look you feel in your skin. That pierces you. That doesn't hide. The look of someone who desires you. Of someone who has chosen you. I pretended not to notice, tried not to pay too much attention. After all, I was just there to drink. That was it. But, you know how it is. There are things we can't control. And, every time I glanced over, there he was, looking at me, seriously, intensely. And, no matter how hard I tried, it had already caught my attention. The truth is, I needed it. I needed to let go, to disconnect, to forget, even if only for a few hours, about Lucas, about what we had, about what didn't work out. So, I started to return his gaze, first, subtly, then, without trying to hide it anymore. Until he got up, left his friends at the table, and came straight over to me. He came close, smiling, leaned against the counter and started chatting, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. We talked for a few minutes, laughing, making small talk. But deep down, we both knew exactly where this was going. Until I looked him in the eyes and said, without beating around the bush, "Do you want to get out of here?" He smiled, bit his lip, and replied without thinking twice, "I do." He lived nearby. We walked away, like two accomplices in something we both wanted, badly. As soon as the door to his apartment closed, there was no room for words, only for our bodies. We grabbed each other right there in the doorway, exchanging strong, intense kisses, the kind that seemed to carry all the desire accumulated over days, maybe weeks, maybe months. We pushed each other, between kisses, hands, touches, until we reached the bedroom. Our clothes fell away, one piece at a time, as if each button undone, each zipper pulled down, was an answer to what we needed at that moment. We fell onto the bed, and there was no turning back. He came on top of me, held me tight, and our bodies fit together in a way that felt like we had known each other for much longer. Our skin was hot, our hands squeezing, exploring every space, every detail. The rhythm started slow, steady, as if we wanted to enjoy, to feel, record, every second. But little by little, it gained more intensity, more urgency, more surrender. Our eyes met the whole time. Smiles appeared between kisses, and moans muffled, hoarse filled the room, along with the sound of our bodies meeting. The bed creaked, the sheets tangled, and everything seemed to happen at the right pace, the pace of desire. When the climax approached, there was no control. It was intense, strong, breathtaking. We ended up exhausted, thrown on the bed, panting, laughing softly, like people who, for a few minutes, managed to forget the world outside. We lay side by side, still trying to catch our breath. And deep down, I knew that even though it didn't cure anything, it provided relief. And in a way, it reminded me that, yes, I was still alive. The following week, I was at the office, solving some problems, completely immersed in my work, when I heard someone knock on the door. "Come in," I said, without even looking up. When I looked up, it was him, Lucas, standing at the door, serious, holding an envelope in his hand. My heart raced, but I tried to keep my composure. "Are you okay?" I asked, not quite sure how to react. He took a deep breath, adjusted the envelope in his hands, and replied in that firm tone, but lighter than in recent days. "Yes, I'm fine. Everything's fine." He approached me, placed the envelope on the table, and said, looking me in the eyes, "Next Saturday is my graduation. And I'd like you to come. It's important to me. Here's the address and all the information." I stood there for a few seconds, trying to understand if this was real, if it was really for me. I looked at him, took the envelope, and replied without thinking twice. "I'll be there. You can be sure. I'll be there." He just nodded, smiled slightly, and left, letting the door close slowly. I stared at the envelope, and, at that moment, I realized that, maybe, all was not lost. Finally, Saturday arrived. I got ready. I put on my best suit, fixed my hair, and left. When I got there he was. Gorgeous, radiant, smiling, happy, having fun, surrounded by friends and family, and even in the middle of so many people. It seemed like he was the only one there. When he saw me, he came over, smiled, and said, "Thanks for coming. Really, it means a lot to me." I smiled back, holding back my emotions, and replied, "I'm the one who should be thanking you for inviting me. Really, thank you." We stood there, drinking, talking, laughing, and as time went by, and the hours passed, the beer, the atmosphere, the looks, everything seemed to make clearer what was stuck inside me. Until I couldn't hold it in anymore. I looked into his eyes, and, with the loud music in the background almost drowning us out, I said, "Lucas, I miss you. I miss you so much. And I'm so sorry for what happened. If you still want me, I'd like to try again. This time, just you and me. No lies. No unresolved issues. I want to build something real with you. I want you in my life. Lucas, will you go out with me?" He just stared at me, steadily, straight into my eyes. For a few seconds, the sound, the voices, the people, everything seemed to disappear. Then, he took a step closer, held my hand, and replied, his voice a little broken, but full of certainty, "I miss you too. I'm so sorry. I miss you. And, yes, I forgive you. And yes, I'll go out with you. At that moment, I couldn't think of anything else. I hugged him tightly and kissed him. Right there, in front of everyone. And I, who had always been so discreet, who had never really come out, didn't even care. Because, at that moment, nothing else mattered. Only him. Only us. He was surprised, but soon after he smiled and kissed me back. And when that night ended, we went home. Together. And we made love, as if it were the first time, with more commitment, with more love, with more truth. Because, on that day, we didn't just find each other. We chose each other. And, yes, we're happy. Truly happy. I learn from him every day. I learn that there will always be someone more beautiful, more interesting, more anything. But, at the end of the day, what really matters is that we choose each other. Every day, I've learned to appreciate the little things, to appreciate what really matters. And I promise myself that I'll fight every day to never hurt him again, because I love him. And what I want most is to make him very happy, just like he makes me happy. And, in the end, that's what matters, being happy and making happy those who are by our side. We made one thing very clear. Since that day, always talk, always play fair, never hide anything from each other. Because trust is and always will be the foundation of everything. And as long as there is love, respect, truth, we will continue choosing each other every day and being happy together. I hope you enjoyed our story. If you did, you know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget that the uncut version is here in the comments, okay? And remember, this is part 2. Part 1 is also in the comments in case you haven't seen it yet. Kisses, and see you soon.